situations. Got me die!
Going to talk about some very misused words. Many times I notice it even with children nowadays, so when you grow up misusing it, it becomes very serious to you and can actually dominate your life or control it. Firstly, about need or have to. Also, a living thing, generally speaking, doesn't have to or doesn't need to do anything whatsoever. I could be born, stay there, and let my body die again. Or I could right now stand here, wait till the battery of the camera runs out, and just melt away to the forest. Turn to dust. It really doesn't matter. There's just completely nothing that anybody needs to do. Of course, nowadays, in the system of death and control, of suffering, many would say that they need to work because someone else told them, not realizing what they're saying every day misusing the word need. I hear it all the time. People should realize that there's nothing that they need to do. If you steal something and the police come, you don't need to talk to them, you don't need to follow them, you don't need to go to jail, you don't need to anything. But when you're in the mindset of they have control over me, of course you may believe so, and many times it would actually be wise to do so, but all it is the interaction between people. So they of course then would physically take your body and drag it along or something, but that does not mean that you need to do something. So one could say, I need to do that to avoid jail, or I need to avoid that so they don't beat me. But this is also not necessarily true, because for everything there's many actions, reactions, there's many possibilities to do everything. So saying it like that would make it sound as if that's the only possibility. So you need to get in the car to drive a car. It's not true, because there's many ways around it. And there's a lot of possibilities which many people don't think of, or many would say it's not possible, but everything is possible, of course. You've heard me say this so many times, but it's true. Just because you haven't experienced it yet doesn't mean that it's not possible. So I can't even think of that many uses for the word need or have to, but I'll continue with that in a second. It's the same thing with have to. You don't generally have to do anything, and because there's so many possibilities of the actions you can take, it's also not logical to say that you have to do that to achieve that, seeing as there's always possibilities. So you could say that I may do that to achieve that, or some other way, but always believing that you have to do something, as in children have to go to school, which is ridiculous. Nobody has to be sent to the place of absolute I used to call it hell. When I went to school, I said, I'm going to hell. It's that we're simply made to believe because others do, we have to, or because our parents tell us we have to, and because we are so dependent on everybody else, of course, we go there. I couldn't even understand what's going on when I went to the first grade. I understood the meaning of life is to play at that age, and that was just hammered out of me, and then I became more and more of a slave robot. So usually children, when they're still young, they realize the meaning of life. Even kindergartens are ruined now. Maybe they always were, but it was still different when I went. Not very comparable to school. And The other way people use the word have is that you have something, or similar to own. You have nothing in the material sense. The keys, for example, I don't have them in the sense that I own them. One way you can use it that I have them in my hands, possibly, or rather I'm holding them in my hands, but I don't have them, and it's not my keys because nothing belongs to anybody. I already talked about this in my video about persons and how it's all a joke and nobody owns any houses and any of that stuff. So just because there's something on your name or you're holding something doesn't mean that it belongs to you or that you have it. Many even nowadays use the words as in I have a girlfriend, or I have a boyfriend, or it's my wife or my husband. That's on a different level, but just some examples of how when you misuse these words your sense of reality can change a lot. So I'm just trying to make you understand of all the freedom that there is this wall, illusionary, invisible, not something you can sense, that is holding you back, possibly it's holding many people back, and all of these duties that are inside our heads made by other people, and many simply accept it as truth because they grow up like that, believe that they need and have to do things. So another thing is morals. That's a ruse, especially when some people say that it's against their morals to steal. Seeing as you cannot have or own anything, how can you steal anything? Taking something from somebody is something else, but in the sense that most people use, especially about shoplifting. Only people who are in this control of language and such will believe that because there's a name on something, it means that somebody owns it. It's such a joke. Stealing in that sense is completely fine because it's not exactly possible to actually steal. So only the people who are in this control actually have those kind of moral beliefs or whatever kind of nonsense. The ones outside of it, of course, don't, which there's not many of nowadays. So one thing there's a lot of stuff you don't need or have to do, but one word you can use is the word can, because you can do about anything. The word can is, like those words, also very misused, or can't. Not to start some cliche talk, but we limit ourselves so much as to what we can or can't do, because many may say that they can't fly. I believe that I can. I just haven't learned it yet. I believe in levitation, whatever way that happens. It's just not something I can do yet, so to say, but that's also not true. Something like that. But I can do it, and I will. Simply believing that you can do something opens up a lot of doors. That's all I'm saying in the end.